From DSC 7 paper, from the Rape of the Lock, you can go through the character of Belinda. That how the poem's heroine, who is portrayed as a figure of beauty, vanity, and delicate sensibility. Belinda encapsulates the 18th century aristocratic woman whose life is dominated by concerns about fashion, social standing, and delicate honor. Through her, Pope explores themes of vanity, superficiality, and the absurd importance placed on social rituals. Then you can go through The Rape of the Lock as a satire on contemporary society, that how the poem uses the form and style of a classical epic, typically reserved for grand heroic narratives, to mock the triviality, vanity, and excesses of the aristocratic social elite. Through wit, irony, and exaggeration, Pope critiques the superficial concerns and social rituals that governed his time, turning a minor incident, the cutting of a lock of hair, into a grandiose event filled with mock heroic seriousness. Then the Rape of the Lock as a mock heroic poem or a heroic comical poem. How Pope adopts many of the traditional features of epic poetry like elevated style and heroic couplets, invocation of the supernatural, epic similes and grand imagery, irony and wit. So I think that will be enough from the Rape of the Lock. Also the use of this supernatural machinery in the Rape of the Lock. Yes, it is also a very important question. So go through it. Again, the Rape of the Lock as a satire on contemporary society, as I have mentioned above. So that's it from the Rape of the Lock. From Paradise Lost Book 1, you have Milton was of the devil's party without knowing it. Analyze Satan's character in the light of this statement with reference to Paradise Lost Book 1. Or basically discuss the character of Satan through Satan's speeches in Paradise Lost Book 1. Satan, the protagonist of John Milton's Paradise Lost Book 1, is one of the literature's most complex and debated figures. Once Lucifer, the highest of angels, he leads a failed rebellion against God and is cast into hell. Milton presents Satan as both a tragic and grand figure, one whose pride, ambition, and persuasive rhetoric shaped the epic's emotional and ideological center. The depiction blurs the lines between heroism and villainy, making Satan both an object of admiration for his resilience and a warning against unchecked pride and defiance. Satan's first speech, the famous "The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven." Satan laments his lost glory but quickly pivots to defense. He asserts the power of the mind to shape experience, foreshadowing his refusal to submit. This speech introduces Satan's tragic self-awareness and hints at Milton's exploration of free will. The famous line, "The mind is its own place," highlights his resolve but also signals the beginning of self-deception and characterizes his downfall. The other questions include the importance of invocation in Paradise Lost Book 1, how the convention of invocation that is adapted and transformed by Milton to set the tone, purpose, and theological frame of this poem, of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death into the world, and all our woe with loss of Eden. These opening lines immediately establishes the central theme of the epic, the fall of man. The phrase "man's first disobedience" refers to Adam's original sin, eating from the forbidden tree. Milton summarizes the catastrophic consequences, mortality, and loss of paradise. Unlike classical epics glorifying heroic deeds or empire building, the subject here is theological and moral, a cosmic event that explains human suffering and redemption. This not only signals the poem's serious and solemn tone, but also Milton's ambitious goal of exploring profound spiritual and existential matters. Then you have the use of epic similes or similes in Paradise Lost Book 1 and their character and purpose. How similes in Paradise Lost Book 1 is both extensive and distinctive, serving several important literary and thematic purposes. The similes, often referred to as epic similes, are elaborated, extended, and richly detailed comparisons that strengthen the poem's grandeur, enhance characterization, and deepens the reader's understanding of abstract or complex concepts. Milton's similes also serve to connect his Christian epic to the classical epic tradition, while simultaneously elevating it with novel and evocative imagery. A simile is a figure of speech that compares two different things using connecting words, such as like or as. In epic poetry, similes often function to highlight or intensify qualities of characters, settings, or actions, making abstract ideas vivid and concrete. Milton's use of similes in Paradise Lost is crucial because they create a bridge between familiar earthly images and the poem's cosmic, spiritual, and moral themes. Then we have a note on Milton's grand style in Paradise Lost Book 1. You know how its elevated diction, elaborative syntax, and rich allusions produce a powerful and majestic poetic effect. It establishes the epic's lofty themes and theological seriousness. It also reflects his deep erudition and ambition to create a Christian epic on a cosmic scale. The grand style refers to a type of writing distinguished by its elevated tone, dignity, and majesty. It employs complex sentence structures, formal and Latinate vocabulary, vivid and majestic imagery, and frequent allusions to classical, biblical, and historical sources. Milton's grand style embodies what is described as sublimity, a sense of majestic grandeur combined with moral and spiritual seriousness. Then we have Milton's use of epic similes, again as we have mentioned above. So I think that will be enough for Paradise Lost Book 1. Go through the notes and always remember to give quotations as they are the foundations of your answers. From One Day I Wrote Her Name by Edmund Spenser, we have that how Spenser's One Day I Wrote Her Name is different from the Elizabethan sonnet tradition. Composed during the Elizabethan age, a period marked by the flowering of English poetry and marked chiefly by Shakespeare and Sidney's sonnets, Spenser's sonnet raises question about its conformity and divergence from the Elizabethan sonnet tradition. The Elizabethan sonnet tradition traditionally refers to a 14-line poem, usually in iambic pentameter, following a specific rhyme and thematic development. Most famously, the Shakespearean sonnets have three quatrains and a final couplet, often focusing on themes of love, beauty, time, and mortality. Spenser's sonnet, however, follows the Petrarchan or the Italian sonnet tradition in structure, but with a twist, ultimately establishing the Spenserian sonnet. Then we have the critical appreciation of the poem One Day I Wrote Her Name. You can go through it. From To His Coy Mistress, we have discussed To His Coy Mistress as a representative metaphysical poem. That what is metaphysical poetry, the characteristics of metaphysical poetry, the use of conceits, philosophical and intellectual themes, wit and wordplay, blend of physical and the spiritual, themes of time and mortality, and emotional intensity. Again, a very important question. Then, what is a metaphysical conceit and Elaborate with instances from Andrew Marvel's to his chemistries. The various concepts that Marvel has used in his poem, like my vegetable love should grow faster than empires and more slow. Here, Marvel compares his love to a growing vegetable, a natural, slow, and sprawling form of growth that contrasts with the usual fiery or immediate passions typically associated with romantic love. Then, but at my back, I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near, where Marvel personifies time as a chariot with wings rushing forward relentlessly to catch the speaker. Also, the other concepts you can go through the notes. From the Lamb and the Tiger, discuss the religious symbolism in William Blake's The Lamb and the Tiger. How do these poems reflect the contrasting aspects of God's creation as per Blake's vision? Analyze the use of imagery and apostrophe in conveying these themes. You can simply go through the notes. Then we have the compare and contrast the themes of innocence and experience as depicted in The Lamb and the Tiger. How Blake uses these animals as metaphors for the two contrary states of human soul, as it presents a visionary exploration of human condition through two contrasting states of the soul, that is the innocence and the experience. Then we have discussed William Blake's mysticism as reflected in his poetry. How does Blake's portrayal of the divine and spiritual experience challenge conventional religious beliefs, and what role do symbolism and visionary imagination play in conveying the mystical worldview? You will get the complete notes from our group. Check the link from the comment section. Thank you.